Welcome to Man vs. Land. I'm Sara Holland, and this is a segment intended to educate the public on various home and landowner topics, as discussed with guests who serve as experts in those fields. A disclaimer for our show: this show does not constitute legal advice and is for educational purposes only. We are always available to field questions, so please message us on Facebook at Man vs. Land NH. Today's guest is Marcie Gowen-Nobley from Union Bank.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am good, thank you. If you wouldn't mind to start, just share who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Marcie Gowen-Nobley. I am a residential loan officer at Union Bank. I joined Union back in February. I was very excited to make this move. Before then, I was with a bank for 6 years. And then previously before that, I was in the title world and the real estate world. So I've kind of grown up around real estate.
Yes.
Yes. So the one thing that I love about me is like I've seen other parts of real estate. So I feel like that's helped where I am today. So I understand the struggles when it comes to title. I understand when it comes to closing. Like I get all the fun things, and I hear about it too. Like we all hear stories. I hear them from my parents. Like,
well, and you also have the unique perspective of like being able to identify how to streamline things that just don't make sense sometimes because you've been in all those different roles and been around it for so long. So that's super exciting.
I think that, it's definitely helped. And I was definitely trained very well by my previous employers to get to where I am today. So without them, I don't think I'd be here. So definitely kudos to everyone I've worked with.
Yeah, and we're so excited that you are where you are because you just bring so much to the table for us. And I know that I'm probably one of the most difficult people to work with because I bring the most difficult clients, and that and that we're always trying to find different angles to make things possible for people because it can be very difficult to give people this very basic necessity of shelter, and it shouldn't be that hard.
It shouldn't. And like we always joke about plain vanilla. Like you don't have those transactions right now. So you have to be able to come up with these creative ways to get people into housing that are not plain vanilla. So if you came into this maybe during COVID, like maybe you went through the 2 years where you just had vanilla. Well, that's great, but there's not much out there like that. So we are dealing with, those fun transactions that might take extra effort, but we have to get there. So
yes, and it takes a full team effort to get people there.
Absolutely. It does. It takes everyone between title, the real estate agents, like everybody has to be on board to get to the finish line right now.
So what is something that you really want to share with consumers about the process or what you do that would make everyone's life easier if they just knew it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really part of the transaction to be able to rely on the people that you work with, right? So you need to be able to have trust in me, trust in your agent, trust in everyone that we are asking you for something because it's part of the transaction. So like rehab loans, Sara and I have done rehab loans. Like we understand rehab loans and there's different parts of them, but you have to trust that we're asking you to get you something to make a rehab loan work because we need it, not just us coming to you saying, like, we just want more documents, because really we don't want more documents. Like we wish that we didn't have to get what we have to get, but we do. And you just need to trust that we're getting it for a reason. So I would say the biggest thing is just trusting the people that you're around. I laugh that so many people are going to online lenders right now, and that's great for your plain vanilla. But when you need to trust someone as much as you do, you really want to know them and want to know their background and that they're here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that goes right back to the beginning of like assembling your team and taking the time before you need to write an offer on a property, taking the time to assemble your team. I don't mind talking to people 2 years before they're ready because I know when they're ready, they're really ready. And it's so great. But but it takes time to vet these people, and you have to trust your spidey senses. If you don't feel comfortable asking questions like, hey Marcie, why do I need this, or is this, like, I just spoke with a lender yesterday relative to a car loan for my son, and I'm just like, I'm asking you all of these questions,
Yeah.
and they made me feel incredibly comfortable in both asking them and with the information that they responded with. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a good fit, this is great. But if you can't ask those questions, or if you're being ignored, that's a big thing with some other lenders. If you're being ignored, then that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. And I mean, we want you to understand why we need these items. Like, that's what we're here for, right? To explain everything to you, but also know, like, we're on your side. So we're trying to get you. We're trying to get you there. We want to get to that finish line. We want to be at the closing table, even after you close. I mean, I love hearing from people with questions after they close. Like, even if it's making a payment, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you learn how to make your payments, whether it's a loan that I did, whether it's a loan that I sold to New Hampshire Housing, like any of those, like, I'm here for that. So knowing that it just doesn't stop, like, your job doesn't really stop just at the closing table. We're
Right.
here for you after the fact.
Right. Oh, absolutely. This relationship doesn't go away. And yeah, we can be super useful besides just the negotiating, closing aspect, like, what color should I paint my front door? Well, I have data about all of that and why you want to paint it a certain color. Like, so I know I have a lot of information to share, and usually people come to us kind of last minute. They're in a rush, or they're just like decided today that they're going to buy the house that went on the market yesterday, and you don't have an opportunity to build relationships, and sometimes you get closer to the end and then you start learning valuable stuff that could totally have changed the course of their transaction in a different but better way if you had had that relationship built from the beginning.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, it definitely, I feel like when someone comes to us, there's all different programs out there, right? There's some programs that I can do, there's some programs that maybe another lender can do. And we kind of go through all those options, because if I can't do the best option for you, then I know someone that probably could. And I'm more than happy to send you their way if they can get it done. And I think that it takes that sort of teamwork, like we've been talking about, the trust, knowing that if we can't do it, or we talk about all the different programs that you might qualify for, knowing that there's multiple options out there.
yeah. And that's super powerful, because I use that line a lot when sending folks to you and to some of my other lender partners, that if she doesn't have what you need, she will find a place for you to go. She will give you a referral. And they feel so comfortable just knowing that before they even meet you, that this is somebody that isn't going to sell me on something that's unnecessary, which there are a lot of lenders that do that because they are not, because this is how we make money, right? So they're like, oh, well, if this person doesn't buy what I'm selling, then I don't make any money. Well, we all work in a consumer protection style industry. So we need to be doing what's better for the consumer.
We do. Yeah. No matter what it is. Yes. We try to do what's best for them. So
yeah. Can you talk a little bit about like how difficult it is having conversations with people about money? Because it's a very vulnerable spot for a lot of folks.
It really is. It's very tricky to talk about what loan programs might work best for you, what you have for assets, whether you might need to start saving. If you're currently at, let's say, $1,000 monthly payment, and we're qualifying you for $3,000 monthly payment, and you're telling me you can make that payment, but I'm not seeing any money, then we do have those conversations. Like, okay, well, if you just put an extra $2,000 away every month, we're going to have that money in 3 months to be able to get to the closing table. So it is one of those tricky ones where we just kind of discuss it. Like, I want to know how you feel. Yes, you're telling me you can make this payment. On paper, it looks like you can make this payment, but I want to make sure that you're really, really comfortable with this. And that's a huge thing. I actually, this weekend, met with someone who is pre-approved in another state. So it's not a state I can do financing with. And they showed me their pre-approval. And I was like, but are you comfortable with this payment? Because the payment was ridiculous. Let's say it was $8,000 a month. He's like, no, I'm not comfortable. And I said, well, that's something you need to go back to them to, is say, like, I'm comfortable with $3,000 a month. What will my budget be? So in regards to just assets, talking, just having that conversation, like, there's different grant programs out there. We can go over them. We can try to get assistance. New Hampshire Housing is great right now. They have up to a $10,000 grant. There's seller closing costs. There's things like that is available. But yes, you do have to be able to pay for your inspections, put a deposit down. Those sort of things have to come from your bank account and not mattress money, as we call it. So if you have cash laying around, like, we have to be able to source documents and source where money's coming from. So we are seeing a lot of cash nowadays. People are just holding on to cash. Unfortunately, in the lending institution, we need to know where that cash is coming from. If you can back it up with a bill of sale, you just sold a vehicle. We get the bill of sale, we get the Kelly Blue Book to show that it really was worth that. And then we can see the deposit going in. So there's different ways around if you receive cash. If you get married, that's another thing. We just need the marriage certificate to prove that's where all the cash came from.
Good reason to get married.
I know, right? Bring a big bucket that says the house fund, just drop it in. But yeah, I mean, it's just those conversations that you have to have with them up front. Like, yes, there's 0% down loans, and yes, you can get seller contributions, but right now it's a hard market. So we are seeing seller contributions sort of come back in play, but I wouldn't say it's where it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's really, really tough, especially with the average price point that's going up, which kind of takes a lot of people out of the market, which is so sad. We need more inventory, but that is a story for another day.
Yeah. It totally is.
Days and days. We created this issue over decades, and we can't sum it up in one.
No, we wish we could. We really do. I would say that I work about 50% with first-time home buyers, and it is a hard market right now. And I feel for them because I was in their shoes. I think 9 years ago, we bought our first house that we still live in, but it's a totally different market than what it was. So what it is today.
We've worked with a couple of sets of clients together that were initially looking for rentals. And I'm just like, what about buying? And they had no idea that they were able to even buy something, and they were able to get into something incredibly quickly. Even though we're talking about the market being incredibly difficult for first-time home buyers, there are a lot of you like sleeper buyers out there that don't know that you're eligible, and it would be such a better position for you to be in if you were able to purchase your home and then just generating equity with that asset versus
100%
renting, because the rental market is as competitive right now as the housing market. So if you can buy something for yourself, you're probably better off.
Absolutely. I mean, you're, like you said, you're gaining equity, you're building something. I joke about that you can paint the walls whatever color you want. You can do whatever you want with your own house.
Yeah.
Well, to an extent. You can't burn it down or just tear it down or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's yours. So I definitely think that more people need to at least have the conversation to start off with in regards to, tell me about it. Like, if you have credit issues, let's get on board. Let's fix those. We work with a head. A head will do counseling training. Like, they'll do credit counseling. They'll do soft pulls. They'll monitor your credit. And then once they get to that point, they'll send you back to me and say, okay, Marcie, we're ready for that hard pull. So that, like, we have this team like we're talking about. So we want to make sure that we have this conversation, whether it takes, you can get a pre-approved right now, or it's 2 years down the road. You at least need to know today, like, what those issues are.
Yeah, as with so many things, if you can admit that there is an issue, then it can be dealt with, right? And
absolutely,
it's like the first step in recovery.
Absolutely. If you're self-employed borrower, I mean, I'm going to tell you, if you're not claiming everything for some reason to the IRS, and I look at your Schedule C and you're like, but this isn't what I make. Well, then we need to have a conversation, because maybe you need to change how you're filing. So there's different things we'll look at. But but those things can take a while. I mean, self-employed borrowers have to have 2 years worth of tax returns before we can qualify them. So if you have a year that you're telling me this isn't actually what you made, then I need 2 more years ahead of that. So it's going to take a while.
Right.
But us having that honest conversation now makes it so that you're not like, hey, I found my house, I'm under contract, and now I tell you, unfortunately, it doesn't work.
Yes, I know. And those self-employed people, records are super important. And I always thought that I was a terrible record keeper, but apparently I'm a great record keeper compared to the rest of us in the self-employed world. So it was very helpful for me to get financing for my property. But I want to talk about student loans because those are getting discharged or paid off or whatever the case may be right now. How helpful is that going to be? And how helpful was it in the last couple of years where there were no payments?
So it was a little tricky. So I would say right now, if you have student loans on your credit report and they're still in deferment, which I believe they're coming out next month, I believe that the deferment will end. It will depend on what actually happens to those student loans. If they show up on your credit report and they're still in deferment, depending on which loan program you go to, a certain percentage has to be used. If for some reason they actually get discharged or something like this happens, right, and they actually get wiped, we will need them to come off of the credit report or show that they're paid in full or something like that to actually show that they're gone. If they're showing up on your credit report right now as deferred and no payment, then we have to, depending on which loan program, it's either 0.5% of the total or 1% of the total. If you're going conventional, and you had an income-based repayment, we're asking you so this is where we play around with numbers. So let's say 0.5% or a full percent is higher than what your income-based repayment plan was. We're asking you to go back into that income-based repayment plan, call your servicer, get back on that income-based repayment plan and get us proof of that, because then we can use that number. But we do have to debt you for something right now. It just depends on which loan program we're going into and if you were ever on an income-based repayment plan. So we'll see what happens with student loans. We keep following it, seeing what's going to happen, but until something's signed and it's off your credit report, we're going to have to use some sort of debt, I guess. Gotcha.
So that is good to know. So fingers crossed for all of you who are expecting your student loans to be wiped, or at least most of them. That would be so great for all of you, because that's another whole completely different topic of how bananas that is. The stories that I've heard about people who have been paying, just so much over the last couple of decades and have not even made a dent. And it's just all interest that is accruing very, very fast.
It is. It's crazy to see. And unfortunately, like, those income-based repayment plans are great, but it's not going anywhere really.
Right.
So it's a tricky one, that anything to do with student loans in regards to, what's going to happen down the road, what's going to be signed, what's going to be passed. But until they're actually wiped, it's the same thing. Just like we just had the whole thing, medical collections. Medical collections are not supposed to be affecting your credit score. They shouldn't be on your credit report, things like that. They're slowly in transition right now because they still are showing up on credit reports, but we don't have to count them against it. So we're going to see transitions in regards to credit scores coming into play. But right now they're still, I think, affecting credit scores if you have a medical collection on it.
Oh, gotcha. And there's no, you can't make a guess as to what sort of increase there would be in a credit score if that was removed. You just have to see it removed.
Yeah, we have to see it removed. And sometimes, unfortunately, what we see is some sort of collection get removed and it's a trade line being closed out. So your score might dip down a little for a couple months and then go back up. Credit score is one of those things I watch ahead. Ahead has a great classes at night. They'll do it on Facebook Live on cracking the code, I believe it is. It's very interesting, but credit kind of is one of those things that You never know.
It's so funny. I have watched over the years because my husband and I, when we got together over time, we merged a lot of our things. So
Yeah.
we're looking at like, we both make this, a payment on our house because it's in both of our names. It affects him positively and me negatively. It is just like the weirdest thing. And I'm watching all of this movement and I'm just like, I try not to think that it's a gender thing. But sometimes it's hard to like not think that when you're looking at these things. But it's just credit scoring is just so new, and women having credit is even newer than that. So
Mhm.
it is this is all incredibly new. I know in our lifetime it's always been around, but not I remember my mom getting, was it the encyclopedias, the guy that would come to the house and like sell the encyclopedias?
Yeah.
And that was how she began to build her credit. And she's incredibly protective of it now because she knew what it was like before having it.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so this is all incredibly new and we forget that. And our kids' generations don't know that either.
No. And like I see a lot of parents now, like if you're someone that doesn't have any credit, and when I teach the seniors at Plymouth Regional High School, we kind of talk about, being a I should say being a co-signer or something in regards to putting your children on your credit cards if you have good credit. That is the thing I tell them. If your parents have good credit, have them put your name on the credit card. I would never give my child, even though she's only 5, even when she's 18, I wouldn't give her the credit card.
Right.
But I would at least allow her to build credit that way. But you have to understand that your parents have to have good credit. Like,
right.
If your parents are not the ones that are making payments on your credit, or if they're maxing out their credit cards, it's not going to help you build the credit that you need.
Yeah, why don't we have like conversations about money and like building, good credit just in our communities? It's like one of
I
those taboo things that no one
totally
wants to talk
agree.
about.
I totally agree. So when I go talk to the seniors at the high school, it's right before they graduate. I spend an hour, maybe it's a half an hour with them talking about credit. And we talk to 2 different classes. So maybe it's 60 kids that I have in there. But I definitely think that it needs to be something that goes into it, like real life situations. I know Plymouth Regional High School has their marketing department, where there's a class that you can take for 3 years. And I mean, that's kind of gave me so much knowledge when I was in high school, but I don't think it's offered everywhere. And I think that it's real life situations that we need to start teaching these kids, because I mean, I don't even think they teach how to do a check anymore, how to write out a check.
Oh my gosh. So my son went to New Hampton school and they had a week where it was like a project week where you could travel and do photography in Rome or whatever the case may be, but not everybody had the ability to go do that. So they had like closer home-based type projects, and one of them was adulting 101, and it was laundry, changing a tire, how to balance a checkbook, all of those things. And I'm like, but everybody else is missing out on this.
Yeah, it should be everyone.
Yeah, everybody should be doing this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. And I think that creates a lot of divide in our community. And I know that we're getting a little bit wider in our scope of conversation, but I think that it does create a bigger divide in our communities, by people who have, like, you have the knowledge to teach your kids, right?
Mhm.
And I have the knowledge to teach my kids, but not everybody else has that. And we've had to like kind of wade through it over time and figure out what works for us. But imagine like what positions we would be in if our parents, who are great parents, were like even, leaps and bounds ahead of their time, so I think that we need to still have these open conversations, and I think it starts with just being okay to be vulnerable and have the conversation, you know
Absolutely.
yeah, I think money is in line with like feelings. If we could
Oh
talk
yeah.
about feelings, then we could talk about money.
Uh-huh. It's one of those hard things. And I mean, I totally understand why some kids wouldn't want to bring it up with their parents. I mean, it's a hard subject.
It is a
Um,
very hard subject. Yeah.
and being that I might not know people or anything. It's easy for us to be involved and to help. And that's what I think the biggest thing is we're here to give knowledge. So even if it's someone I'm working with 18 and 19-year-olds that want to buy their own house, like that's great. But we start from basics and kind of work our way up,
Right.
and how to build that credit.
Yeah, and it does start very early. Absolutely. And there are some tools to kind of just move it along a little bit faster, but it starts, yeah, with that conversation and being vulnerable and identifying the people that are around you that can help, which, like you said, it may not be your parents, it may not be your family members, but yeah, stop in and see me, stop in and see Marcie,
Yeah,
ask the
like,
questions. And that is what we're good at, right? Like we hold space for these people who are in a vulnerable position, talking about money, talking about their ability to provide shelter for themselves and their families. And it may not be a fast process. And I'm incredibly honored to be a part of that process with these people.
absolutely. I think those are the special ones, like we hold on to, that
Yeah,
we've worked from one step and we've come all the way. And those are the ones that I love doing.
absolutely.
I mean, we like doing all of them. We love doing all of them, but those are the ones that you really hold the memories on.
Oh, yes, I know. So many good memories. Oh my goodness. And we just
Yeah.
want to, and like you said at the beginning, what you may qualify for, if that's not your comfort level, then always live within your comfort level, right? Because we want to see our clients thriving. Like I want to drive by your house and see you out gardening, not see you, like roof repair. I want you to be doing good things. I want it to look like this was a good step in your life and not a huge burden. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we talked about a lot of different things, which
I
is
know.
pretty normal for us.
Yeah, pretty much. We go up, turn around.
Is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on?
No, I mean, like I said, I am very big into New Hampshire housing. I love the programs. They're offering lots of things for home buyers. Big thing is if you have not owned, so you previously owned a home and then you sold it, and now it's 3 years later since you sold it, you're a first-time home buyer again. So you qualify for all those programs. And I don't think enough people know that after 3 years of no ownership, you actually will qualify back for being a first-time home buyer. And New Hampshire Housing has those programs available right now. And it's not just government loans they do, it's conventional loans. So some people will call me, realtors think New Hampshire Housing is government only, but it's not. They do conventional financing just like everyone else. So there's lots of options out there. So I think the first step is just picking up that phone and calling and talking.
Right. Yeah, because you can fill in one of those questionnaires on don't consumers, please do not just put your information in online unless you know where it's going to, because you're going to get phone calls. I did that one day and cross country mortgage. Sorry. I put my information in and I thought that it was just going to give me one of those automatic valuations. My phone rang nonstop for 2 months. And every time I picked it up, I'm like, take me off your calling list. They're like, oh, so sorry. And then the next day I would get another call. And consumers, you are being marketed to. This is
100%.
how things go. And I think this will be a theme in every one of these podcast episodes, because I just need to keep hitting the message home to people that they are the product. So stop putting your information in online.
The other thing is that I tell people is Credit Karma is a great tool to monitor your credit. The scores are not 100% accurate. I tell people that all the time. They can be high, they can be low, but every time your credit is pulled, Credit Karma is selling your information. So they will sell it to people, and that is why your phone is ringing as well. Like they know immediately, hey, someone pulled it for a mortgage. I'm going to have so-and-so give you a call. And I mean, I did the same thing when I was refinancing my house. Like my phone would not stop ringing. It's because I have Credit Karma. Right. And I mean, I use it to monitor. I know if someone accidentally pulled my credit or something happens, right away.
Right.
So there's an opt-out service. Opt-out is definitely a way to go. It takes about 5 business days. but it allows them not to call you.
Oh,
So I do
super.
recommend that as something to do for people, because they will burden you. They will call you at all hours, which I'm sure you are familiar.
Yeah, like yesterday I started getting calls incessantly from someone about insurance, and I'm like, what did I do? Where did I put my information? Like, what is going on?
Where did you get it? Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, and I know just because of my awareness of the industry and marketing, I'm like, it was something I did. Where did I put my foot? Where
Oh
did I put
yeah.
my information? But I was definitely not looking for insurance. So
No, and I mean, it's bad right now. Like, we talk about wire fraud, we talk about a lot of things to borrowers in regards to all the spam that they're getting, all of these, like buy your deed from me sort of things.
mm,
And it's awful right now. So people are falling for some of these, and I mean, a home warranty. Like, what? No, it's not really a home warranty that you're seeing in the mail that they're going to do certain things. So it's definitely something to keep an eye out. And that's why, I mean, people will send me text messages for loans that I did 7 years ago, or 6 years ago, I should say, because I'm about to hit 7. But they'll send me pictures of documents they get in the mail, and they're like, is this legit? There's just so much. And that's why we say, like, send it to me, I'll let you know.
yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of this information is publicly verifiable
Yep.
if you know where to look. So please, yeah, use us. And our spidey senses go off when we see certain things. And we're also, as an industry, we're aware of certain trends that are happening.
Mhm.
And you may be falling into that category. So ask us. We would love nothing more than to tell you that it's a scam.
Yep,
And
exactly.
yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. All right. I did have one question that
Yeah.
left my brain early in our discussion, but it came back. Um, the difference between, or not even the difference, but just the awareness for consumers that depending on the loan product, both they need to qualify and the property needs to qualify. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So government loans are a little more particular in regards to the property type. So we always kind of go through those. So if it's a government loan, an FHA, an RD, and you have chipping paint on the exterior of the property, that's one of the things we talk about right away. Unfortunately, it's not going to fly for a government loan. It's something that's going to have to be repaired prior to the appraiser going out there or prior to closing. So that's a big thing. Manufactured homes are another one. Um, so it's actually about to change. So as of September 1st, Fannie and Freddie are actually going to be accepting single wide manufactured homes that are on a slab tied down. So that will be something new.
Very cool.
So that is very nice because it's going to open up a lot more doors to people. So right now, if you were to do a loan and we were to close today, the manufactured home could not be more than 10 years from the date that it was actually manufactured, HUD plate put on, things like that. So it's made it very tough for borrowers. So this is going to allow a lot more borrowers to purchase single family or single wide homes on its own land. Then, I mean, so we look at septic and well issues. There's different distances between the septic and well for different loan programs. I will say that I was sort of involved in an FHA exception where we went to FHA and asked them to do an exception, and it was not accepted. So yes, they say they give exceptions, but I would say that it would be a very hard one to get done. So we're looking for that 75 feet.
Okay.
And I mean, so we try to give you a list, what you're going to look for FHA, USDA, New Hampshire Housing. Like I said, they're a great resource. So they just came out with like a little checklist. So that's something that I've been giving borrowers that are going that way, that need a government loan. Conventional, they're a little more lenient in regards to the property. I would say that I had one that had chipping paint on the entire exterior, and they conventional did flag it as a hazard and that it was a safety issue because of all the chipping paint, that if someone was to decide to eat the exterior of the home, then it could be
As we
a
do.
problem. Yep, we all love to eat paint. But I mean, they're a lot more lenient in regards to the property. So if you have a single family home that's in great condition, then there's no reason to worry about an FHA or USDA borrower. I mean, they're the same as a conventional when you have a house that works. You know what they're looking for. So I wish that if you have that property, that's great. They're going to go through the same exact process as a conventional home buyer would. There's no extra leaps or bounds or anything.
Well, and I think it's important to note that those particular programs were created specifically to get more people into homes.
Absolutely.
And they're no less worthy of having a home.
No, they aren't. They aren't at all. Like, these borrowers are going that way. And sometimes they're going that way because government loans right now have a lower interest rate.
Perfect.
So if you're able to do a lower interest rate, your private mortgage insurance on a conventional loan might be higher. Plus you have that rate a little higher, then why not go government right now and know that you're going to refinance? We joke with people all the time. You are dating your rate right now. You are just in it until rates drop, hopefully in the next year, 2 years, and then most people are going to refinance out of this.
Right.
So, I mean, if you can get into a home, save some money, you might as well.
Yeah, it's a tool, just like any other program, or, just getting into a home today, knowing that you are going to refinance when the rates come down into a different program. Like, yeah, all of these are tools, and it's just to be able to obtain an asset that is going to be helping you throughout your life or your ownership of this particular property. So yeah, think of it as business. And if you're not a business person, then cool, this will be your first business deal. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And I mean, the other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is you don't have to refinance. Say you purchased a home with another lender and you didn't have trust in that person, it did not go well, something happened, you're not stuck with that person to refinance. I mean, you can find that person that you really jive with, that you are happy with, that you feel comfortable with. That's the person that you need to go with. So you're not stuck with them forever.
Right. And that goes for your entire real estate team. You're not stuck with anyone forever. And just like, I'm not great at sports analogies, but hey, if the pitcher is like not having a great day, then definitely take him off the mound and put in your second string guy, because hey, they may win the game for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, sometimes there are hard transactions that unfortunately we try to communicate as best as possible. And maybe there were stumbling blocks, but hopefully everything communication wise comes out that everybody knows and is aware.
Yeah. And just a reminder to consumers that they're the ones that are making all of these decisions. If it doesn't feel good to you, whether it's a person on your team, the decision that you're about to make, any of those things, the entire purchase, you could just walk away. Obviously we hope that we have prepared you and you have gone in eyes wide open from the beginning. But in the event that you're like, this is just not for me, that's okay, because it's about you. You make the best decision for yourself, and we're just here to support you. So we're not making any decisions for you. We're arming you with all the information, and you take the best road for you.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Marcie. It was so great chatting with you.
Yes, it was nice seeing you.
Yeah, you too. And yeah, we'll have to do this again, because I know that we have way more to talk about. But I'm super excited about the mobile home thing.
I know. Cool. Yes. So yes, any consumers out there have questions, like I said, even if I'm not doing your loan, I'm here to be a resource. So
very cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.